So, your teacher told you to come to class prepared tomorrow. It sounded obvious while you're in class, but a few hours have passed now and you're wondering, well, what do you actually need to do? Good question. Turning up to class prepared helps you make the most out of your learning opportunities. So, let's jump in and make you a savvy learner right from "Good morning, class." When I ask students to come to class prepared, there are 3 things I want them to do. Firstly, take some time to go over your notes from the previous lesson. Courses typically use a structure that follows along progressively, building on your knowledge from lesson to lesson. So reminding yourself what was covered last time means that you are ready for your teacher to continue building on your knowledge and skills, and it saves you time. You might ask, is reading your notes enough? The answer is, well, maybe, but you might have taken pages of notes, so how will you remember what was important? Try this. In your own time, on a clean sheet of paper, you should summarise your notes briefly. What was the main content covered? This could be the names of the main theories or theorists, ideas, examples or case studies, and techniques or skills covered. Think of these summary notes in this way. If your grandmother or some elderly but clueless family friend wanted to know what you had learnt in your last lesson, well, what would you tell her? The second thing you should do relates back to that logical teaching sequence. In high school and tertiary education, there are often some clues provided about what is coming up next. This might be contained in a document called the curriculum document, the scope and sequence, the program, the course or module outline, or it might have another name. Sometimes these documents are pretty general, giving a basic direction for the course, while others are very prescriptive and explain what will happen in each and every lesson. These are often handed out on the first day of the course, but if not, ask your teacher, tutor or course coordinator for a copy. Have a look at this document and see where you're up to right now, and then you'll be able to see where the course goes next. Do you have more lessons on this theory, perspective or skill? If yes, fantastic. This gives you time to practice the things you've learnt so far and find out what the gaps in your knowledge are. Go to class prepared with questions like, what are the exceptions to this rule? Are there other recent examples of this theory in practice? Or you could find your own examples of the theory applied in real life, maybe in a movie, a documentary, or the news, or even your own experience, and you can ask your teacher if that's an appropriate application of the theory. If you aren't yet confident in your understanding of the theory, go prepared to ask questions like, why is that part of the theory or skill important? If you're moving on to a new theory, concept, skill or topic, there's a good chance that this builds into your larger understanding of the course or module. Just knowing what is coming up and not being surprised will help you in preparation for learning. Go to class prepared with questions like, how does this new theory compare to what we've already learnt? Or what gaps or problems exist in the old theory that this new one might address? Then, looking at the new topic and based on what information is in your course outline, ask yourself, what do you think the next lesson or lecture might cover? Don't worry about accuracy, this is just educated guessing. Let's practice. Your next lecture is on structural strain theory. Your course outline briefly explains that this theory explores the different ways that people approach normal goals in relationship to their means. The important words here are normal goals and means. Often, but not always, you will know the important words because they're the ones that make you go, For 1 minute, think about normal goals. What are some goals that everyone shares? Food, shelter, dignity, love, education. These are pretty normal, basic and common goals. Now, what about means? This could be confusing, so use your general knowledge and what you have learnt so far. Think about some synonyms for means. In this case, meaning, like, what does this word mean, doesn't make sense, so we realised we could also substitute financial resources or wealth. Now this makes more sense, and it's the theory that relates to people's financial capacity to achieve basic human goals. Now I have a framework to fit the details into when I get to class. When you use this method, you should keep a list of what you thought a theory or new vocabulary term in your course might mean versus what it means in your discipline after you've been to class. Remember that conversation with Grandma. These sorts of comparisons make great stories, which are natural revision moments. The third thing you should do to be prepared for class is to do your readings. You probably have a textbook, a reader, or both, and many courses have prescribed readings each week. You can find these in your scope and sequence or course outline, or your teacher might tell you which readings to do next during class time. These readings are selected to complement and reinforce the learning that you are doing in class. The teacher might refer to parts of the readings during class activities and might even ask you to discuss the readings with your peers, so being familiar with the readings will make your life easier and make you more productive. Don't rely on the teacher to give you time to read during class, and even if they do, it can be very helpful to go over academic readings more than once. Check out my video on academic reading for more hints and tips on using your reading time effectively. In the meantime, ask your teacher if there's a reading guide specifically for your course. Okay, you've read through the notes from last lesson and briefly summarised them. You know what content you're likely to cover next lesson, and you've had a brief brainstorm to avoid surprises. You're up to date on your academic reading. You've liked this video and subscribed to my channel. Oh, and you have a pen, notebook or device and your phone is off and away. Yep, you're prepared for class.